Recording. Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar today on crowdsourced funding. We're just waiting for a few more people to register and then we will commence this very important webinar. We hope you're having a good day. We've got people from all over Australia participating today. If during the webinar you have any questions, can you please type your question into your computer and it will be processed through the GoToWebinar system, and I will discuss your questions later in the webinar.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So welcome to this webinar, Crowdsource Funding Equity Raising, Growing with Your Clients. Equity is now being raised by clients, companies, direct from investors, and they've been able to do this since the 19th of October 2018. There's 7 intermediaries that have been appointed by the Australian Security Commission, and we will talk about them a little bit later in this presentation today. Let's have a look at this stage of what's happened already. This is an overview of some of the capital raisings that have already been concluded. Bank, 100% digital bank, has raised $2.4 million. Manrags, premium socks and underwear, $363,000. Shuvi, a digital platform that matches moviegoers with empty seats, $294,500. The West Wind Gin, Australian champion gins, raised $932,000. Mimo Bottle, a flat water bottle designed to fit into your bag, have raised $383,000. BIZTOOls, a timekeeper for luxury brands with Australian-inspired crowns. You've got to have a good look at the information that's on the Intermediaries website to get a full appreciation of what this company and most of the others are doing in their businesses. But $294,000 has been raised. Pelican, a global currency app and prepaid Visa card that you can use anywhere, $248,000. Order Up, an investment in a gaming brand, has raised $361,000. Park, a leading soccer brand for the production of balls and clothing, has raised $316,000. Sash, an Australian take on modern Japanese fusion, $184,000. Does this give you some ideas of the type of businesses that you might have as clients that could be interested in raising capital? Incidentally, we're going to send you a copy of the PowerPoint slides that we're using in this webinar and a link to the webinar recording. I should have told you that at the beginning, so I hope you're not there frantically trying to keep up writing all this down. We are going to send it to you tomorrow. Some of the current capital raising that's still underway. Endeavour Brewing Company, a craft beer manufacturer. There's a few of the craft beer and wine manufacturing companies attempting to raise capital. DHF Surf, a surfboard design. Direct Injection Technologies, which developed supplements for livestock. Pura Health, which develops health supplements for humans. Australian Boutique Spirits, manufactures and markets Australian-made spirits. Mobile tech has systems to help you with your travel arrangements. EduTech, a cloud-enabled student tutoring business. Medical Service Group is going to develop multi-venue medical services businesses in Queensland and New South Wales. Industrial Tech, a company that has patented safety device technology which is seeking capital after it's made its first sale. Internet Gaming, an established company, is seeking funds to expand into new networks and markets. It's quite fascinating to read their material that's on the Intermediaries website. Black Hops Brewery, another craft beer and wine manufacturer and retailer. And Hut, company that's developing tomorrow's house today, delivering the future of zero carbon housing. Dream City, an immersive theme park combining education with fun that's going to be developed in Melbourne. Oscar Razor, the Australian Premier Shave Club. Your Mates, craft beer and wine again. Pakuma, a network of professional funeral planners and celebrants. That's a pretty wide group of businesses, isn't it? Have you got any clients that are active in areas similar to this, or does it give you some ideas? It can be literally any type of business. Incidentally, if you have any questions during the webinar, can you please type your questions into the system and it will be uploaded to me so I can read them and I will answer your questions later in the webinar. I think all this amounts to a great opportunity for accountants, and I hope you agree with me. Now let's go through some of the details. Who could be eligible? Companies with an annual turnover lower than $25 million. Now, most of these companies, I believe, will be clients of small to medium-sized accountancy firms. At this stage of their journey, they are probably not the clients of Big Four or even top 100 firms. Some of them might be, but the majority will be clients of smaller firms, typical of the firms that we support with our products and services. We have subscribing accountancy firms situated all over Australia, but they're basically in the small to medium-sized categories. This is a great opportunity for your accountancy or advisory firm to offer a proactive crowdsource funding equity raising solution to your clients and prospects. And it then will enable your team to grow with your clients, because this is all new at this end of the market. So it offers new challenges and opportunities for your team. Interesting work, challenging work, but also very important for the partners in particular, but the whole firm. It offers your accountancy or advisory firm the opportunity to create new income streams. Very important when you consider what's happening in the taxation return market. Numerous commentators have identified that the taxation market has lost its ability to grow and grow and grow like it has basically done annually for the last 50 years. Technology, computer systems, outsourcing, competitive pressures, all sorts of these items are influencing what is happening in what has been the traditional market for Australian accountants. Crowdsource funding equity raising gives you an opportunity to diversify into a brand new area. So where do you start? We're going to go through this in a bit more detail later on, but the key document that we have produced is the Crowdsource Funding Client Matrix, which will assist you to identify the clients that we believe have these sorts of characteristics that are going to enable them to be able to utilize crowdsource funding to raise capital. In the first instance, of course, they must meet the turnover limit of $25 million. They must also meet the asset limit of $25 million. Our recommendation is that you utilize the matrix to identify the clients that you have and or the prospects if you know of other people. And if their accountants are not servicing them in your area, this is a great opportunity to expand your business with some quality clients. Then invite those clients and prospects that you have identified that might be interested in crowdsource funding to attend a seminar. I'd make that a free seminar and or webinar so that you can outline to them what's involved. And we've produced all that material that you can use within our product package. Once you've had the seminar or webinar, you can then meet with those clients who have indicated that they are interested. You have to be proactive in following them up. And what you could talk to them about is what services you can offer them. They will need to understand how crowdsource funding operates. They will need to be subjected to a detailed review to make sure that they are eligible. It's very important they understand the crowdsource funding intermediaries, role, duties and responsibilities, and most importantly, the intermediaries' powers. They will need to understand what's involved in the preparation of the crowdsource funding offer document. This is virtually the equivalent to a prospectus. So there's a fair bit of work got to go into the preparation of it. And then what happens when their offer document is uploaded to the intermediaries website, because that is where any potential investor has to go to read the documentation and to proceed with their investment, because it has to go through the intermediary. That's the law. So there's a fair bit of work there. The intermediaries we're going to talk about in a bit more detail shortly, but their role is basically to work with the completed offer document. They will make some contributions to what should be included in the offer document, but it is not their role to do that. Some people think it is, but it's not. The guidelines from ASIC are very clear on that. Our indicative fee for the work we've just discussed in the briefing to the clients, making sure they understand how this process works, but not the preparation of the offer document, is a fee of somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. Now, when you've decided whether the client's prepared to accept your proposal, fee $5,000 to $10,000, you need to then prepare a summary of the company. Now, this could be a business plan, or it could be a summary looking at these types of headings. What industry are they in? What products or services does the company produce? What intellectual property has the company got? Has it got any patents? Who are the customers? Who's the team? Who are the directors? Where's the company located? Make sure the company's website presents the company as being a vibrant, progressive, keen organization to grow and expand. We've already talked about IP. What's their unique competitive advantage? What's the company's current financial position? Most companies are going to need your input as an accountant in all that information being assembled. We then move into a very important process, and that's introducing your clients to intermediaries. Now, there are 7 of them at this stage, and I hear rumours that ASIC's contemplating expanding that number. And the intermediaries are located in 4 cities in Australia: Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. I think it's a good idea to have a discussion with more than one intermediary to decide who your client is happy to proceed with. So therefore, you'd then be looking to make contact with the intermediaries to see what they can do for your client. What services do they provide? And if you go on to the website, and we're going to give you the web addresses for the intermediaries later in this presentation, you will see that their operations vary. They're different. They've all got their own ideas. They're all independent organisations. They're just working within the legal framework and the guidelines from ASIC. But other than that, they can obviously run their own show. And they are. They've all got affiliates, in other words, investors, and they know what those investors are looking for. So they all offer a different slant on the services that they can provide. Your role, I think, is to assist your client to decide who best will be able to represent their business. Your client needs to discuss with the intermediaries that they're talking to what their fees will be, because the legislation does not specify the fees that are payable, other than it says the fees could be paid in cash or shares or a combination of both. The legislation also requires that the quantum of the fee and how it's to be paid has to be stated within the offer document and on the intermediary's website. Most of the intermediaries appear that they are charging upfront fees for various aspects of the campaign. Your client needs to have an understanding of what they are. Now, the costs that could be charged are called onboarding fees. Some intermediaries are claiming they don't charge any. Others are saying it could be $5,000 to $10,000, and that's an upfront payment. Most of the intermediaries are requiring the company to produce a video, and they want to have a significant amount of input into what is covered in that video, and the cost estimates are $4,000 to $5,000. The intermediaries will also want a designer to be involved in the design of the final presentation of the crowdsource funding offer document, and the estimate for that is $1,000 to $2,000. And the fees that intermediaries seem to be talking about range from 6 to 8% of the capital raised. So your client needs to understand these costs before they sign any agreement with an intermediary. Some of the items that we believe is important that there needs to be discussions with intermediaries before deciding who you're going to appoint includes: does the intermediary require a pre-seed round or a private launch to be conducted in conjunction with the crowdsource funding capital raising? And I'm going to talk a bit more about both of those items shortly. And has the intermediary got any preferences of particular information that needs to be highlighted in the offer document? And there will undoubtedly be some going backwards and forwards with the intermediaries from you, the company, and the intermediary as to the information in the offer document. There is a significant amount of information that is required in accordance with the Companies Act, which has been significantly amended to incorporate the ability for small proprietary companies to be able to utilize crowdsourced funding without converting to become an unlisted public company. But there's other commercial information that needs to be incorporated within this document. As I said earlier, this is a de facto prospectus. So the company needs to be giving information to potential investors to attract them to be making an investment in their company. Let's have a look at comments that I've got from some of the intermediaries that I've interviewed. One of the intermediaries has indicated to me that in the United Kingdom, crowdsourced funding is now a larger share of the market than venture capital. I find that an amazing situation because UK has always had a reputation of being a very big venture capital market. Yet in 7 years, crowdsourced funding is now bigger than venture capital in the UK. The individual intermediaries appear to have 20 to 30,000 potential investors, normally called affiliates, that they have access to on their websites. I'm sure some of them are probably listed on all 7 of the intermediary sites. But the interesting observation is that there are obviously thousands of people in Australia, businesses, investors, superannuation funds, who are interested in understanding who the companies are that are seeking to raise capital and showing some interest in investing in those companies. And as I indicated too at the beginning of this webinar today, some of those companies have already raised capital, and they have raised the capital that they set their targets on. So the important observation out of that is not every company has to raise $5 million. In fact, I cannot find anyone that has raised $5 million at this stage. Companies only need to raise what they need, what they're comfortable with, and what is going to fit within their shareholder register as being a reasonable amount of external investment. Now, some of the intermediaries believe that we should have some pre-seed funding first, and this will be conducted in conjunction with Section 708 of the Companies Act. Pre-seed funding assists in the confirmation of a company's value because the pre-seed investors, and we can only have a maximum of 20 of them because it's under Section 708, will normally be people who are friends or family or associates of the company or its directors or senior management people. So they know something about the company. And the intermediaries are utilising this type of transaction to help in the establishment of a value for the company. I think you will also need to have calculated a value on the company so that the directors have some guidance. But that document is not required to be produced to potential investors. Another concept that's coming through is a slight variation on the pre-seed funding, and that is what the intermediaries are referring to as a private launch. And they're using the first 30 days of the 90-day listing period in an attempt to attract investment from people like employees, shareholders, customers, suppliers, family and friends of shareholders, and senior management. It's a similar type of process to a pre-seed capital raising. And what it's going to do is to be able to indicate to the general public that the company's target is to raise $500,000. And from this group of people, from a private capital raising, still conducted in accordance with all the rules and regulations of crowdsourced funding, that the company has been able to raise, say, $150,000 of the funds that they were seeking. It gives some indication to potential investors that there is support for this company from people who know something about it, because everyone else really doesn't know anything about it. Let's now turn to the crowdsourced funding offer document. Your accounting firm, I believe, would normally coordinate the preparation of the crowdsourced funding offer document. And within our product package, we have a full template of the information requiring all of the statutory information to be answered. There's a lot of questions about directors and senior management and the history of the company. These documents have to be kept for a 6-year period. So I imagine that that's probably going to be a role for the accounting firm to maintain. And you need to liaise with the client and the intermediary for the finalisation of the crowdsourced funding offer document. I indicated before, I think there'll be a fair bit of going backwards and forwards, sending emails, getting them back, getting comments made in this whole documentation process to make sure the final document is as good as you can get it. And please remember that the intermediary is the final adjudicator as to whether the document is sufficient for them to upload it to their website. ASIC doesn't get involved in this. It's up to the intermediary to decide whether they're happy that the document has been completed on an appropriate basis. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. There's no questions. If you do have questions, can you please type them into your system and I'll answer them a little bit later on. And obviously when the crowdsourced funding offer document's finished, it then goes to the intermediary and they sign, sign off on it. And it's then able to be uploaded by the intermediary to their website. And that's where all potential investors then need to go. We now need to talk about communications. Under the legislation, the intermediary has to operate a communications facility for your client's company for the listing period. Now, the listing period is a maximum of 90 days, but it can be a shorter period. However, my recommendation to you is with your clients, you always specify 90 days. If you raise the capital that the client is seeking in less than 90 days, that's all right. The offer then ceases. But if you specify that you're only having the listing available for 45 days and you don't raise the minimum targeted amount, the offer is over. Now, the communications could include intermediary authorized videos, webinars, in-house presentations. It's not just all by utilizing Skype or one of those types of communication channels. It does cover videos, webinars, in-house presentations. I'm now going to give you the details of the intermediaries. Again, you will receive this when you receive the copy of the PowerPoint slides. Bill Folder is in Sydney. Aquis is in Sydney and Auckland. Remember, New Zealand has had crowdsourced funding already for 6 years. And Equities is operating in both markets. Big Star Capital's in Perth. Virtual Financial Services is in Melbourne. On Market Sydney. Enable Funding in Adelaide. And Capital Labs in Sydney. So they're the 7 current intermediaries. And you can contact them or visit their websites to get details of their own unique approach to this overall challenge of creating a viable crowdsourced funding market in Australia. So in summary, crowdsourced funding, I believe, is a great opportunity for some of your clients to go to the next level. It definitely is not going to apply to all of your clients, even all of your clients with turnovers under $25 million. Not all of your clients will want to go through this journey. But what an exciting journey it could be for some of your clients. And I think it's very advantageous for your firm to say, we are going to grow with our clients. It creates new revenue stream opportunities for your firms. Just the basic advice work, I estimated a fee of $5,000 to $10,000. And then there could be substantial other work, which we summarized in our first webinar in this series, which I'm going to show you the link to in a moment. Your accounting team members will also get the opportunity to undertake a range of interesting and varied work. A few years ago, a young lady sent me an email and said, "Thank you very much. I'm now doing real accounting work." I hope I'm going to get a significant number of those types of emails from now on, as accounting firms embrace that crowdsourced funding is a great opportunity for your accountancy firm to be involved in, and that your accountants, your younger accountants, get some great experience and exposure and knowledge from this whole process. So for more information, you can go to our site on essbiztools.com.au, click on the crowdsourced funding, learn more, and you'll be able to get a full appreciation of the process. And the first webinar that I referred to just a moment ago that we produced on crowdsourced funding, or the first summary webinar is probably a better way of putting it, because we've produced probably a dozen webinars over the last 12 months, because crowdsourced funding was originally going to be available only for unlisted public companies. But all that got changed when the legislation was amended, and from the 19th of October it applies to proprietary companies. So you'll be able to view that webinar if you wish from YouTube, and you'll have that link you can click onto tomorrow. ESS BizTools has produced a product package for crowdsourced funding. We have 22 other product packages covering things like Chief Financial Officer Services, early stage innovation companies, personal property securities register, business plan preparation, corporate governance issues for company directors, etc. This is our latest one, crowdsourced funding equity raising. Now you can subscribe to that package, and you can subscribe to the crowdsourced funding as a standalone package, normally for $999 per office for 12 months. But we have a special New Year discount because we are determined to encourage around 500 accounting firms to be involved in this process, because we think when you look at the projections of the activities and what has happened in the UK, New Zealand, Europe, and USA and Canada, there needs to be that number of accounting firms around Australia committed to this process. So our 40% discount price is $599, and that closes on the 31st of January. Or we've also discounted our gold package, which includes everything that ESS BizTools has, including the crowdsourced funding product package. It's been discounted from $2,970 to $1,782, including GST. And again, that's available until 31 January. If you wish to subscribe, please go to www.essbiztools to take advantage of the New Year promotion. If you want the crowdsource funding product, you will be asked to enter the code, and that code is CSFC40. Or if you're interested in the ESS BizTools Gold package, the code is GOLDC40. Now I have a whole panel allocated to questions. And so the first question is all offers made by the intermediary always get some type of funding? Is all the offers made by the intermediary? I think that means does every company that is listed on an intermediary's website raise the funding thereafter? The answer to that is no. We have prepared a summary based on what's on the various intermediaries' websites, and a lot of this goes back now to the capital raisings when they had to be unlisted public companies. Some of those companies did not raise capital. There's no guarantees. The company has to set a minimum subscription amount. I hope that answers the question, Zaba. The next question is, what happens when the offer is over? Good question. That was summarised in our earlier webinar that I referred to, but when the 90 days or earlier period is finished, the intermediary will advise the company that the capital raising has been successful. The intermediary will then submit to the company a list of the company's new shareholders, because it's the company's responsibility to issue share certificates to those investors and to create a separate share register called crowdsource funding shareholders, and to lodge a crowdsource funding shareholder list with Australian Security Investment Commission within 30 days of that capital raising being completed. And the intermediary will transfer the net amount of the capital raising, so it's the gross amount less the intermediary's negotiated fee, to the bank account that the company has nominated in the intermediary agreement document that would have been signed some months earlier. And then the company is on its own. It has no further involvement with that intermediary. If the company raised, say, 500,000, that's all it wanted to raise, there's no reason why in 4 or 5 months the company can go back to the market to try to raise more. They just have to go through the process again. They don't have to use the same intermediary, but I think the intermediaries will be keen to try to continue with that carry-on business. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, the next question is how the client returns the money, or how the client pays interest to the investors. What are the usual conditions? Well, there's no interest. This is what the investor is investing in, is ordinary shares in the company. The legislation is very clear on that. So it's not a loan, it's not any other sort of fancy investment unit. It is ordinary shares. So the company receives the money. There is no interest payable, but if the company declares dividends, then those shareholders receive their dividends. I hope that answers that question. Oh, okay. I've got some thank yous that have followed there. That's very good. If any of you think of some questions later on, that you would like to have an answer on, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and we will respond to your questions. So now I want to go into what I think is a very important concept. You have spent 40 minutes with me so far. I am an accountant. I've been Chief Financial Officer in a listed public company, company secretary. And we are operating ESS BizTools as our contribution to trying to help accountants undertake a wider range of commercial work. So I think it's a waste of time running a webinar like this unless I then try to encourage you to create an action plan. Now, unfortunately, if I haven't convinced you at this stage that crowdsourced funding is an area that your firm should be serious about, I really can't give you much more other than refer you to our website where we've got various videos and other information that might change your mind. But if you're interested in offering a proactive service to your clients, offering your team the opportunity to work on some interesting and varied work, and creating new income streams for your accountancy business, and I hope you are, the next steps are, and this is your action plan. Number one, to implement any of this, you're going to need to subscribe to our package. As far as I can ascertain, we are the only organisation that has prepared anything like this for accountants or business advisors in Australia. And we also have prepared some material for businesses, which we're presenting through our other entity, ESS Small Business. So you will need to subscribe to the ESS BizTools crowdsource funding package. And we've got it now at a price that we will not be repeating, $599 including GST. You will then be able to make a booking for your complimentary 60-minute mentoring session on crowdsource funding. Yes, we're giving you a mentoring session because we want to make sure that you clearly understand how we've devised the system. We will be sending you new information because this is a new market. We're also growing with this market, and we're going to be supplying additional information. We want you to know where that will fit in. And the quicker you make that reservation, the better, because we're anticipating hundreds of firms coming on in this process, and allocating 60 minutes to them each is going to be a real challenge. So the quicker you do that, the quicker you will get that mentoring. The next thing to do is to complete the client matrix, which we'll take you through in the mentoring session, so that you have identified the clients or prospects that you know of who fit the categories for crowdsource funding. Number 4, read the seminar material. Now that's included in the product package, so we've got a whole section there on running the seminar. The material's all there. All you've got to do is read it so you understand it, and then stand up in front of your invitees and talk to them about it, or run a webinar. Number 5, you then go ahead and present the seminar or webinar out of these clients that you've identified and all the materials in the system. We have also produced some promotional material, which we suggest that you put your name on, of course, and personalize, put some photographs on it if you wish, and put it on your website. Tell your clients in the market that you're proactive in this space. I think one of the biggest problems accountants have got when we're looking at this broader commercial market is that far too many accountants are sitting back waiting for the clients to come and talk to you about it. Well, I've got some bad news. Most of them won't do that. They will go to someone else who is showing that they're interested in doing that because they think that their current accountants are not interested in any of that. I know that because I do consulting work with small, medium businesses all over the place, and I get that reaction all the time. Accountants need to be proactive in your promotions. We also have a media release that you would then personalize and edit. So John Brown of Brown & Co. is proud to announce that the firm is going to be proactively involved in crowdsource funding, and send that to the local media. And our recommendation then is you pick up the telephone and talk to the local media representatives, whether they're journalists or managers or whatever they are, and offer to answer any questions they have, because this is new for them also. And we will supply you with a copy of a interview that a newspaper within the News Limited group did with me on this whole product. And then you need to follow up your clients and prospects who attended the seminar and webinar. Are they interested? And then concentrate on them. Prepare the proposal, and that's all included in the documentation, so that you can get this process underway. Over the next 12 months, we will be sending our subscribers updated material. Use that to refresh your website. Send new newsletters to clients and prospects. And occasionally we'll update a media release. We know you can't send a media release out every month on crowdsource funding. But if you've got some good news in your location because you've had a client, they've gone through the 90 days, they've raised the $500,000 that they set out to raise, that's a news item that your local media will be interested in. Be proactive, send it to them. Thank you for participating in this webinar today. I hope the action plan helps you, and I hope you're able to make a commitment to it. Now, tomorrow we're going to send you an executive summary on crowdsource funding equity raising, about 1-page summary that tries to bring all this together. Because as I said earlier, we've presented a number of webinars on this, and we haven't presented everything that's been in the previous webinars in today's, because some of you have been with us on a bit of a journey going through the various webinars. We will give you a link to the webinar recording that you're watching today, which will be on YouTube. And we will send you a copy of the PowerPoint slides so that you can work through it. If you want to contact me, there's my telephone numbers, or you can send me an email. And there's our web addresses. We've got ESS BIZTOOLS, which is where crowdsource funding is. We have a separate website and subscriptions for our government grant program, ESS BizGrants, which helps accountants to identify government grants. And we have a separate website which is committed to informing small business, medium businesses and small businesses on some of these issues and encouraging them to go and talk to accountants. And we have a list of our subscribers available to them because we're encouraging those people to then go to our subscribers. And if you're a subscriber, you'll be in that list. I'm just going to check once more to make sure that we don't have any more questions. I don't see that we have, so I hope I've answered all of your questions. And the last thing I'd like to do, because I probably should have said it at the beginning, but I don't think I did. Happy New Year. We look forward to working with you during 2019. And I really hope that this will be a year where the Australian small and medium-sized business community is really assisted by accountants and business advisors throughout Australia to help them raise capital, because it's going to be a very tough year for businesses with the problems that banks are now experiencing out of the Bank Royal Commission. I think the ability of your clients to be able to raise some capital, sure, they're going to have to allocate share percentage in their companies, will be a far smoother way than trying to deal with lending organisations that will probably prove to be very difficult in the next 1 to 3 years. So thank you very much for participating in this webinar today. If you think of any further questions later on today or tonight or tomorrow or even next week, please send me an email. We look forward to you joining us as advisors to your clients on crowdsourced funding equity raising. Have a great day. Goodbye.